easily.
Perfect. So good evening, good morning, good day to everyone who's joining us, either in the Zoom call or on YouTube. My name is Jack Williams, and I'm the president of the Institute for Global Negotiation. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to the keynote address of the IGN e-conference on negotiating with strength, mental health and resilience in high-stakes environments. So the Institute for Global Negotiation is a non-profit association based in Zurich, and we work to promote and support the use of negotiation as an essential tool building a more equitable, sustainable and peaceful world. And two ways which we do that is by facilitating negotiation experience and advice sharing, and also engaging in the public discourse around negotiation and related issues. We're a member-driven organization with our members coming from academia, diplomacy, practitioners, and for all of those who are watching, we'd like to invite you to explore the Institute if you'd be interested in getting involved. I'm very pleased to introduce one of our members, Vera Hampel, who will be the facilitating and moderating this evening's keynote. Vera is a principal at Edgar Phillips, which is a negotiation consultancy based in Zurich. She's an expert in the application of emotional intelligence, so very fitting for the theme of this e-conference, particularly looking at negotiation, leadership and organizational contexts, which she received her PhD in from the University of Zurich. She also has experience process facilitation and mediation, as well as giving coaching on interpersonal communication and leadership skills. So without further ado, I'm very happy to pass over to Vera, who will lead us through the evening.
Thank you so much, Jack, for the kind introduction. And I'm very excited to be part of this event. I've already attended the last session on emotional intelligence, and it's been so interesting and inspiring. So hopefully we can continue that conversation and that exchange with our wonderful keynote speaker. So without further ado, please let me introduce you our distinguished speaker, Winnie Kiiza. With over 15 years of public service, Winnie Kiiza has made a lasting impact on Uganda's political landscape. Her journey in leadership began in the late 1990s when she served on the Kasese District Local Council from 1998 to 2005. And during that time, she took on key roles, including Secretary of Finance and Administration, and later Secretary of Social Services. And her dedication and leadership led to her election to the Ugandan parliament in 2006 as a woman member of parliament for Kasese district, a position she held with distinction for 3 consecutive terms until 2021. And in 2016, Winnie Kiiza made history as Uganda's first female leader of the opposition in parliament. She played a crucial role in advocating for women's rights and was instrumental in passing key legislation, including the Prohibition for Female Genital Mutilation Act and the Domestic Violence Act. And her relentless pursuit of justice and equality has left a significant mark on Uganda's governance. And beyond politics, Winnie Kiiza is the founder of the Winnie Kiiza Foundation, an organization dedicated to empowering young people and women through education on democratic values. She's also a sought-after consultant on gender and governance and actively mentors emerging leaders through organizations like the Forum for Women in Democracy and the Women Democracy Network. And what I personally find truly inspiring about Winnie Kiiza is not just her achievements, of which she has plenty, but her deep commitment to the values that she upholds. In an interview, when she was asked about her decision not to re-seek election, she said, and I quote, "As someone who has been fighting against leaders who overstay in power, staying longer in parliament would contradict the values that I stand for." To me, this quote reflects the integrity and selflessness that define her leadership. And today, we are privileged to hear from a woman of courage, conviction, and vision. So please, without further ado, join me in welcoming the remarkable Winnie Kiiza. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vera, for that kind introduction. I would like to thank the Institute for Global Negotiation, for giving me the opportunity to interact with all of you colleagues in this e-conference on mental health and negotiation. I'm super excited to be part of this year's e-conference. And like Vera has said, it's always an honor for me to share my humbling experience with others, to hear from others on issues that affect humanity globally. Friends, in 2019, the World Health Organization carried out a research. And this research indicated that every year, in every 4 people, 1 person is struggling with mental health. The research further indicated that approximately 800,000 people every year die of suicide. These are troubling indicators. What is also troubling is that this research did not exclude our global leaders. You never know who of your leaders is struggling with mental issues, mental health issues. And so this conference comes at a time when the world is awash with stories and with actions of war, with troubling moments globally, where climate change has become an issue, where governance is also an issue, poverty is becoming an issue. And so together, you and I should rethink our strategies in making the world a better place for all of us to live in. In telling you how the situation is tense, Vera has told you in the introduction that I was the first female leader of the opposition in the Parliament of Uganda. During my tenure as the leader of the opposition, there are 2 incidences that occurred that left me mentally troubled, and I know that many leaders in my position are going through the same, and if they don't get any assistance, possibly from family or from friends or from experts, they would degenerate into serious mental issues. The 2 incidences I'm talking about, 6 months after my appointment as leader of the opposition, and actually it was precisely around 8 months after our election in 2016, the constituency that I represent was attacked by my government forces. They went into a cultural institution and killed over 100 people, arrested over 200 people. You can imagine how troubling this was at a time when I was among the top leaders in the country, and it's my own constituency that I represent that has suffered such calamity. I was both mentally and psychologically traumatized. But I was still carrying on with my duties as leader of the opposition. Had it not been for the support of the women's movement, the support of family, and the support of friends, I know I would have broken down. The second issue was when we were struggling with amending the Constitution. We had a provision in our Constitution that barred any citizen from contesting for presidency at the age of 75. Our current president was knocking 75, and he knew that if that article was left untouched, he was not going to run. And yet he still had the intentions to run. And so what he did was to mobilize his members of parliament so that we change the Constitution. The Constitution was changed on gunpoint, even when the population never wanted it to happen. The 2 incidences that I'm talking about, during that change of the Constitution, the army had to attack parliament, beat up members of parliament of the opposition, the side that I was leading. As we speak right now, one of our members is still nursing injuries of the spine. The women who were victims of the 2016 attack at the palace in Kasese are still nursing trauma. Majority of the women were taken a distance of over 400 kilometers naked and tied on a lorry to have them imprisoned. And when I looked at all this, I realized that in many places and most times, women's bodies are used as a battlefield. It is happening every other day. In Congo, there is a lot of rape. In Syria, there is a lot of rape. And all these are crimes committed against women to dehumanize them, to demoralize them, and at times, these acts are used to mentally incapacitate the players. Some people think that it is anyway an issue that helps people to moral boost their ego and feel that they are on top of the game. But I can tell you, to the women who suffer these consequences, they will never remain the same. I've been speaking to women who have suffered rape, who have suffered injustice during wars, and they will tell you they are going through hard times. At that time, I realized that I was powerless without the support of others. I had to do inner negotiation to ask myself, Winnie, you don't have the capacity to fight government on your own. I had to come to terms with the bitter fact that there wasn't much I could change. And so I had to tone down. I had to tone down. That is why a conference like this one becomes so important to all of us in this room. That at many times, you will encounter a situation that is beyond your control and you want to fight on. I want to tell you, you must find inner peace. You must be in position to negotiate with yourself and say, look, this is a situation I can't change. And this is a situation that I'm capable of changing. And to our negotiators who have encountered serious situations, I want to thank you for the great job that you are doing, because this world is hurting. And it's hurting not because of the bad people, but it's hurting because of the good people who remain silent in times of trouble, in times of turmoil. And so I really want to commend the work that is done by many people to negotiate complicated situations to make the world a better place. And here, I want to remember the work done by Baroness Catherine. Baroness Catherine, we value your work and we recognize it. Michael Ampule, we recognize your work and we value it. Mazland Othman, we recognize your work. Geraldine, we recognize your work. Jerome Bill, we recognize your work. And even many more other players that have participated in negotiations around the globe. The late Nelson Madiba Mandela is famous for the great work he did in ensuring that sanity returns to South Africa. We don't forget personalities like Roosevelt, who ensured that sanity becomes an issue of the globe, and to many other negotiators that have done a tremendous work. We thank you, because it's on your shoulders that the new breed of negotiators are standing. You actually act as a mountain on which they stand to see further. We want to continue encouraging those who are coming on board to make sure that they negotiate, that they make the world a better place for everyone. Remember that mental health is actually a human right. It forms an integral component, and it's very crucial to our well-being. If the communities must progress, then people must have the mental capacity to think beyond what they are going through. Negotiation at the same time requires us to have sober minds. It requires people to be resilient. It requires people to be committed. It calls upon all of us to participate equally. There are times where you will encounter a situation that is complex and you find yourself sucked into it, I would like to call upon all of us in this room that during the negotiation, learn to separate yourself from the situation. Learn to be above the situation. There are times when your values will be compromised. Please relax and don't bow down when your values are about to be compromised. Go there with your head high and come out with your head high. Many times people will fail to even negotiate the smallest thing because they went there with a biased mind. With the negotiation, you don't have to have a biased mind. Go with an open mind and ready to participate in an open conversation. I know that many times, majority of us who are here have encountered certain situations that make them feel part of the problem that they are about to resolve. But I would like to call upon us. Let's keep above the muddy waters. Let's try to become part of the stabilizer. Let us be sanitizers to situations that have gone haywire so that the world can be a better place for all of us. Mental health, like I've said, is a basic human right, and it's crucial to personal, community, and socio-economic development. We all need to have our mental capabilities raised high. We all need to ensure that we are intact if we must enter into offices to make decisions, because it's our mental well-being that will determine the kind of decisions that we make. It's our mental being that will determine the kind of policies that we shall get involved in. I just want to say, the new breed of negotiators that have come on board, you are lucky, because at least for you, you have experiences of those who have negotiated before you, experiences that you can continue learning from. You have new technological innovations that can support you in the work that you are doing. You have other benchmarks from which you can learn. Unlike those who started the aspect of a negotiation, you have technological innovations that can enable you to study the cultural dynamics of the situation that you are confronted with, because culture is also an aspect that clogs negotiation and at times becomes an issue of mental health. So, colleagues, this evening is a very great evening for all of us. It's an evening that we must hold dear to ourselves, not because we are just in a conference, but we are in a transformative conference, a conference that is not like any other conferences that we attend, one that you should hold personal to yourself, because out of this conference, you will not remain the same. I want to thank you, and I want to thank the Institute for Global Negotiation for putting this conference together, because through conferences like this, people rethink their strategies. It is through conferences like this that people are personally touched and they may wish to rethink the way they have been doing their things. Globally, there are new legislations that are supporting the work that negotiators do. Negotiators may not necessarily be only those that are talking about the conflicts that happen in the world. There are those who will negotiate contracts. There are those who will negotiate to ensure that situations at family level are put in a proper place. To all of us, in our small way, let's be seen to do something that is contributing to a greater good, that is contributing to a common good, that is putting the rights of humanity at the forefront, that is ensuring that all of us live in a state of mind that is healthy, that all of us live in environments that are pure from pollution of things like rape, of things that like trauma, of things that detach us from the societies where we are, to put us into the statistics that the World Health came up with of the 800,000 people who die every year of suicide. Because by the time someone commits suicide, it's a serious matter. Either they have given up on life, Either there is something troubling them and they feel they can't just contribute to any change. So it is you and me seated here that can cause that transformation and make the world a better place for all of us to live in. Regionally, globally, and nationally, there are legislations that can support the emerging negotiators. And I would say, let's grab this and make it part of our work. We have organizations like the Institute for Global Negotiation that has expertise. Let's take full use of this institution, use the expertise that they have, and ensure that we contribute to a world that is free from mental health issues. I want to thank you for listening to me. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you this evening. And I would like to wish you successful deliberations during the 2 days of this e-conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for that really insightful and multi-layered approach and perspective that you just gave. On the one hand, negotiation is something that is internal, right? That is about inner peace and finding your own sort of stability in sometimes very adverse environments that you also experienced and described. And at the same time, negotiation also something that is outward, that is a tool, right? That we can use to actually shape the world around us that then has an effect on us. And thank you for sharing both those sides with us and giving your insights. I want to turn now, of course, to the audience that is here within the room. Get ready, because it's now on you to ask all the questions that you may have, hearing Winnie talk. I want to start with the first question that I have, Winnie, because the session before, we talked a lot about sort of micro strategies, macro strategies of how you can actually navigate these complicated times, right? That you said also may affect our mental health, our well-being. And I was wondering, you as such an expert who's navigated many of those contexts, do you have insights? What is your personal story or some tips maybe, or some things that you do where you stay sort of motivated, passionate, where you continue negotiating? Maybe you can share with us some of your, maybe we can copy a trick or two.
I just want to say that for me, what keeps me motivated and keeps me going to do the things that I do is that I do things that I believe in. Once I believe in something, you will never get me away from it. I will go into it knowing that I believe in it. Even if I'm not paid, because I believe in it, I will go for it. And then two, what keeps me motivated as well is working with a circle of friends, teamwork. I know that there is always a saying that if you want to move if you want to move faster, move alone. But if you want to get far, move together. So I always want to work with a team, working with others. In that, you don't get sucked into the conflict. Because when you are hearing from different aspects, from different voices, you realize that in the process, you are equally learning. Sometimes it requires total commitment. Total commitment. You commit yourself to an issue, do research about it. But like I said, I always try as much as possible to keep a positive attitude, a positive outlook, so that I'm not sucked into the complex situation. And two, I will always look at my values. Does this conflict with my values or not? Because sometimes you may get a conflict within you just because you compromised on your values. When I know that something is about to compromise my values, I will make it clear to whoever I am dealing with. This compromises my values. We can move along, because I also know that negotiation requires some bit of tolerance. I will tolerate you, but you should also be aware that this compromises. It is not okay with my values. We can move like this, move this way, but knowing that at certain level, I can't cross the line. The other issue that keeps me moving is having a supportive family. I have gone through tough situations, but at least one thing that has been a motivating factor for me is to know that when I get out of that madding crowd, I will reach home to a welcoming family and I can be able to breathe fresh energy in me. And then having a team of friends that I can cry out to. I also believe that it's normal to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel let down sometimes, but if you know that you have this team of people supportive of what you do, that you can reach there and cry out to them and say, what do I do in this situation? And you know that they will not laugh at you. You know that they will give you a shoulder to lean on. It's what makes me moving. But most importantly, is to know that there is a God whom you will cry to and will listen to you. So there are many times we have encountered such situations, and we keep praying that the best is always what will come out.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for emphasizing values and also feeling connected to family, friends, being part of something bigger. Thanks. Now I want to turn over to the audience here. And if you have any questions, I would invite you to raise your hand so we can see that you want to, pose a question to Winnie. And of course, you're also invited in case you do not want to join in the conversation with your video and your audio. You can also use the chat. I saw questions are coming in, but I want to pause now in case somebody would like to join in and raise their hand. That would be possible now. I see a first hand going up. Jack, do you want to start us off? And I will look to the chat and also weave it in. So yes, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, thank you very much, Winnie. I feel fired up after hearing your words, as I'm sure many other people in the call do. So what I just wanted to ask is, you give advice to young political leaders, and could you share with us, you shared quite a passionate kind of call for those who, you sort of said, the good people who are maybe in that silent majority, to stand up. For those who are afraid a little bit, they maybe don't know quite where to go, they don't know what that first step might take. Could you maybe share with us how you would encourage them to maybe find their voice and get to their feet?
The young people that I mentor, the young people that I train, are those young people, first of all, that have shown up interest in becoming leaders. Some of them are already leaders, holding leadership positions in their schools, either high school or even maybe at university, and they want to join the mainstream leadership of the country. It could be at the lower level, it could be at the higher level. And so I just give my personal experience of how I started. Like, majority of them are afraid of even trying. So the encouragement I give them is, trying is not a problem. You go and try, then you will find people on your side. But the other issue is to let them understand the areas where they want to run. Let them get to understand the do's and don'ts of their communities, because there are people who will go for an election without even carrying out a simple research of what their community lacks, of what their people like. And so these are just the briefs that I give them. Get to your community, stay with your people, get to understand their needs, get to understand what they feel about the leadership they have, and then brand yourself as somebody who is going to change, to cause a change. And yes, I can say for certain that many of the young people that I have dealt with in my camps have been elected, others as councillors, others are now in parliament. And they have told me time to time that it's the training that you gave me. Some of them would want to know, how do I raise funds to run? How do I market myself in a political party so that I'm given the party ticket? How do I even start to tell my family that I want to run? So these are the tactics that we give the young people. Reach out to your friends, let them understand your passion for leadership, get involved into those leadership positions at college level, at university level, so as to be able to even take away the fear. There are those who even have these fears to even stand up and speak in the public. So we get them experts to run them through how to make a speech, how to prepare for a talk, and these experts help them to at least take away the fear, and of course engaging them in debate, so that through debating clubs, they can be able to overcome their fear and be able to stand in the crowd and be part of those who can take up leadership. It's an interesting journey that I have taken. I love it. Like I said, I don't do things that I don't believe in, but I also realize that the young people who I think can be leaders, some of them have challenging backgrounds. Some of them cannot afford even the basics that would enable them to qualify as candidates. And so that is why I also advocate for starting school, staying in school, and completing school. Of course, it has other things that will go with it. There is a fundraising for their education and making sure they stay in school as we take them through the leadership journey. So it is a whole cocktail of a leadership journey, of course, inserting the real values of human rights, social justice, and respect to the rule of law.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for sort of unfolding that cocktail of leadership, right? That different skills that you can build and learn to encourage young leaders to participate in this world. I want to sort of loop in a question that I saw on the chat that also I think links a little bit to maybe a skill that one can build. And that's the question from Farm Samson Emelik, who talked about, and please correct me if I misunderstood the question, who talked about sort of the idea of staying above it, right? In especially conflictual situations. And saying that it's especially important if there's two parties and one is in the middle, right? Like staying above it, navigating that. And asking the question for a situation where you represent one of those parties. If you're not above it already, but you're one of the two conflicting maybe or negotiating parties, how would you use that? I see the camera is on, Farm Samson Emelik. Hopefully I phrased your question correctly, or you can also just chime in and ask it again verbally if you want.
It is almost like the situation I was involved in. You see that situation I talked about of where my community was targeted by the leadership of the nation, and they killed people that I represent, a cultural institution that I belong to. You can see the attachment. So there, even when I was negotiating with government, because I went to negotiate for the release of the people, even when I was negotiating in Parliament for a speedy trial, I knew that it was an issue that was personally affecting me, and there was no way I could have avoided being part of it. I was immensely into it. So the only thing that can save you is to realize that when you are negotiating, you need to first let go of other things. So here I had to come in now as a leader and say, yes, the people who were killed, I know some of them. But I know that my president was also massaging his ego to kill people because that part of the district had not voted for him. 90% of the members of parliament were members of the opposition. 90% of the leaders at district level were members of the opposition. So we knew that we were being targeted. We knew we were being targeted as a tribe, and it is the cultural institution of the tribe that I belong to, a cultural institution that I subscribe to. You can see how I was into the middle of the complex situation. But at that, I had to look out for other people. We hired attorneys for the people who were in jail. But I also knew that there wasn't much I could do because our laws would not allow that a sitting president be taken to court. He had the cover of the law. So what I did, at least to also tell my soul that I am at peace, was to look for other people to participate in the mediation program so that I excuse myself from it, because I knew that I was not going to be neutral at all. So if you should find yourself in such a situation, kindly declare your interests and retreat. Let other people do their work. You can only give backup support. We should learn to retreat when we find that we are compromising the whole process, because I knew that I wouldn't be understood. Even me internally, I knew that I wouldn't discuss something or negotiate anything less than fighting for my community. I was not about to settle for anything less. But when I also did my internal negotiation and said, Winnie, this you can't manage. You are already in it. You are on the top of the whole situation. Please relax and allow other people to carry on. And so it takes us back to the question that Williams asked at the beginning. How do you ensure that people, good people who cannot manage to speak, can speak? As long as you have people who will have believed in a cause, look for people around you who believe in the same cause like you. Once they believe in the cause, once the people know the needs of the people they want to represent, they will rise up and speak, as long as that fear is taken out. So as much as possible, even with as a negotiator, I told you at the beginning that negotiation requires resilience, it requires commitment, it requires taking off time and making sure that you do that you have committed yourself to do. So learn to do personal or inner negotiation and know whether the situation is above you, or you can play a neutral ground of a stabilizer so that you stabilize both sides, or you know that here, no matter how much I try, I will still remain sucked into it, tactfully withdraw and let others carry on with the bit of negotiation. But it's also important to know that communication skills are key. Understanding the dynamics of the conflict is also very key. They may be cultural dynamics, they may be economic dynamics, and also knowing the actors properly and their interests. It's also important, because when I knew that my leader in the story that I gave, the president of the country, had serious interest because he thought his ego had been challenged by a section of his community not voting for him. And here I was as the leader of the opposition of the nation, coming from the same community. I knew that I was not going to be the right person to negotiate. So I had to let go. Hopefully I have answered that question. When you find yourself in the middle of troubled waters.
Thank you so much, Winnie, and also for sort of, again, that multi-layered answer, it's, on different levels, approaching these difficult situations. Thanks for that. I see there's another hand up in the Zoom room, so I would turn over the microphone to Rhea.
Hello, I'm Roya
Hello.
from Iraqi Kurdistan. So my situation is a bit similar with you. So I grew up in a small town. It was a small community or tribe. So my tribe had a party that was the first party in my region. So when I came to college this year, it was a bit hard for me to get engaged with people that were like supporting different parties that were not like-minded. and I just found myself in situations where I would argue with them. So my question is how to communicate with people without getting involved with parties and trying not to like overdo it like your party, and just listen to them and listen to their ideas, their parties, and just not get involved with the politically. So my question is that.
Thank you so much, Ria. Yes, I have, I just again would like to let you know that I became a leader of opposition at a time when the country was tested. Our leaders of the opposition, our leaders in the opposition parties had been arrested. And at a time I was appointed the leader of the opposition. Of course, the issues of gender came in. How at such a difficult time do you make a woman the leader of the opposition? That was first question. At a time when the opposition is at crossroads, a woman cannot manage. So internally, I already had a problem. So it meant that even communicating with my own people to get a buy-in was going to be a problem. Now I get into a parliament that is almost 60% dominated by the ruling party, and we had issues to present. So when you are faced with such a situation, just based on issues. Don't go on arguments that are not backed by issues. Just have issue-based discussions. And the issues that you know affect the people that you are talking to. There are these issues that we all see as a community. There are these issues that even those in the ruling party, if you are a politician like me, they will not want to talk about them, but they know that they exist. So start your buy-in from there. Talk about the ills in their communities and say, hey, look here. For example, I was in your community and I found people talking about this issue. You have not even raised it on the floor. That is how I would handle it. To the extent that members of the ruling party started coming to me to say, Winnie, there is this matter in my constituency. Kindly help me and raise it. I don't want to get punished by my party. Raise it for me. At least I will give you information when you are raising it. A member of the government is coming to a leader of the opposition to tactfully say, please raise the matter for me. It will be like it is coming from you. When you base your discussions on issues and you don't appear to be sentimental, you don't appear to be like you are attacking an individual, people will listen to you and they will regard you in high esteem. So choose the issues that are common to all of you, wherever you are. Choose the issues that even when they know them, they can't talk about them. Then you become their mouthpiece. And at that, they will give you the platform to speak. When you're speaking, everybody will remain silent to listen because they know that you have a package for them as well. You don't have to be sentimental. You don't have to put in feelings. You only have to be grounded in the issue that you are talking about, giving figures, letting everybody see what you see. And it also requires commitment and possibly some level of communication skills, but also being tactical. Look for the tactics that you can use to convince those around you to believe in the same direction that you are heading them to.
Thanks, Winnie. And also the emphasis on, I mean, I find very interesting, right? Understanding the issues that are at stake, but also understanding who cares about them, right? Building trust, talking about the issues, but at the same time also being able to understand who cares about what and that leading that with communication, right? I find that very interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And maybe that links a little bit to a question that we had earlier in the chat from Susanna Kirchner, who asked about maybe another step back, looking at your career. If you had to do it again, is there anything you would do differently? Looking back on your career from today.
Yes, I think I will continue involving the young people, because I know that the young people are the majority. They form over 60% of the world population. And if we can't equip them and involve them, all the time we distance them from the tables where decisions are made, we are going to reap the effects of what we shall have shown. The other category that I would continue insisting that are involved are the women. While I spoke for them, while I represented them, I realized that I think I didn't do as much as I should have done. And that is why I have decided to start the foundation that is nurturing them. It is an issue that is now close to my heart that I feel should be encouraged. And if I went into parliament, the thing that I would change would be now the gender parity of saying, can we have equal representation for both? Because I know that even in my country, for example, women form the majority. Now, how do you legislate for the majority when they are the minority in representation? So these would be the issues that I would want to do differently, to say, let's ensure that everybody is carried along, nobody is left behind, most especially the ones that have consistently been treated as the minority, and yet they are the majority. I have fought for equal opportunities for all. I have struggled for social justice, of course, carrying the banner of human rights, but I still believe that there is still a lot to be done to ensure that the young people are involved at key tables where decisions are made, that the women are further brought on board and empowered economically, politically, and socially. Because some cultures discriminate them. That is why I vividly and equally participated in the elimination of genital mutilation among women, because I knew it was a culture that was taking away their dignity. I would continue ensuring that the women are let free during wars. Because from ancient cultures to today, sexual violence against women during times of war has continued to happen. Their bodies being used as punching bags. And so I would ensure that more and more women are brought into negotiation tables. They are involved in conflict resolution mechanisms, because I know that women are good negotiators, right?
Let's hope so, as we are sitting here, women from across the globe who are excited and inspired by the topic and what you're saying, right? And I hear your call for empowering young leaders and women to partake and to join into this process, right? Into this big negotiation in our world, basically. And I think that links also, again, to a question that was posed in the chat by Faiklava Javed. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. They ask if, with the global systemic sort of context being very difficult and change being very difficult, asking you if you have any practical steps or any tips, anything concrete that we can do to support and empower, in this particular case, women, but maybe also young leaders. How can we empower people to join into this conversation?
There is a lot that needs to be done globally. One is a recognition that a section of our society has been left behind. That would be the first step. Recognize that a section of the society has been left behind, and just take steps to ensure that those that have been left behind are called on the table, like I said at the beginning. Ensure that as many of those that have been left behind are called on the table. So that is why, for me, I have taken it upon myself to nurture, to groom, and to mentor young leaders so that they have what it takes to come on the discussions at the table. I have told them that if the chair is not there for you, carry it there and you put yourself on the table where discussions are made. Because anything for you without you is not for you. So the practical issue that I'm handling is mentorship, mentorship, and mentorship. Nurture them, ensure they are economically empowered. While I was in Parliament, I participated in making legislations that give rights to women, rights to own land, rights to own property, because these are some of the issues that were a no-go area for our women. And so once women are economically empowered, once a community knows its rights, then they can be able to demand. They will be able to hold their leaders accountable. They will know when there are excesses, and they will ask that excesses be reduced and done away with. So the biggest thing that you can do is to empower. Economic empowerment, empower them in terms of education, because the more you get to know either about your rights or the environment around you, you will work towards changing it. And practically, that's what I'm doing in the foundation. And I know it is some of those steps that the Institute for Global Negotiation is doing. One of those ways is this e-conference, to make sure that the world is equipped with knowledge, is equipped with an understanding that they can do something to change their circumstance.
Thanks for that, Winnie. And I see there is another raised hand in the audience from Maximiliano. Do you want to ask your question?
Yes, of course. Thank you. First of all, Winnie, Vera, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing such valuable insights. It's a truly honor. That said, my question is, many people struggle with deciding when to push forward and when to step back. So my question is, how do you personally determine whether a cause or a negotiation is worth pursuing despite the challenges, and when it's not? That would be it.
Yes, I will take that question to even when I decided not to run. I chose not to run as member of parliament again at a time when people still needed me. But I had to have an inner conversation with myself, internal negotiation as to whether I would still run or whether I would go by my values and my principles. Once you have set your goals and you have set your principles and you have laid them on the table, you go into the negotiation knowing what you want to achieve in that negotiation. You will be guided on how to withdraw. Because at some point you will realize that your emotions, your attachment may not lead you to where you want the conversation to go. Remember, during negotiation, you must have a blank mind. Be ready for give and take. And I told you that as for me, when I was going into that negotiation with the president and government about the release of my people, I desperately wanted it. So I was not ready for this. I just wanted a release. So along the way, I said, am I negotiating or I'm giving a command? And do I think that I can order the head of state and he accepts? I think if I need my people to be released, I need to retreat. So know what you want to achieve in that negotiation. Tactfully find ways of having the discussion progress other than making it retard. So when I realized that my presence at the table will retard the progress, I started speaking from the back and allowed others to be the front runners. So I was only giving them backup support in terms of pushing with words, while for them they were into the nitty-gritties of how the negotiation should go, who should play which role, where should we massage the ego of the president? Because for me, I was not ready for the massaging of his ego. No, I wanted my people released there and then. But because I knew that there would be he wouldn't bug into releasing them at that time, I said, let me push back. So when you know what you want to achieve and you know that it must not necessarily be you to achieve it, you can accept to be part of a bigger team, learn to work with others, learn to remain silent where need be, and let the others speak. At a time when your voice is needed, please be generous and bring the voice and let it be heard for a bigger cause. Just know that the matter is not about you. It is about the community that you are negotiating for. And if you know that it is for the bigger community that you are negotiating for, you will know when to lean back and when to go forward. If you don't have specific interest into the matter, there are those who go to negotiate, like us politicians. You go to negotiate, but knowing that you will use the outcome of the negotiation to ask for another term. You know, it is me who negotiated this peace deal. So please send me there again. I am going to ask for more deals. If you go into a negotiation and possibly you think that when you reach the end of the negotiation, you will get financial benefit, you may clog the negotiation, because for you, you are looking at your interest much more than the common good. But if you know that the intention is for every party in the negotiation to get what is due to them, you will learn when to retreat. So gauge what you want and look out for other players who may support the negotiation process so that all of you are happy at the end of the negotiation.
What a timely and important note, I think, in our current global, what is happening around the world, to really think about what we care about, what the issues are, right? And really think about whether we're the best people to push forward for them or whether we sort of harden already difficult conversations. I would have a last and maybe final question, so we end on time, but I would love to hear your thoughts on sort of looking to the future. Now that we're at maybe the beginning of 2025, if you could zoom yourself into the future, what would be a wish, for negotiations? What is an issue that you would love to have solved, or what would have negotiations, have achieved looking into the future? Maybe you have some thoughts.
We look at a future that will have young people involved in shaping the destiny of their communities. A future where the technological advancement is taking us into unlimited number of ideas. Not like where we are now, where we still have limitations, but with the coming into force of AI, you realize that the future has more for us as a people than ever before. So we look at a situation where negotiators are more equipped than ever before, are ready to meet the challenges of our time than ever before, but knowing that what they are doing, it's for the common good of humanity and the world around us. That we are not only negotiating for our own good and for our own benefit, but that everybody in the world, because the world is a global village now, that whatever happens in Germany, the Ugandans already know what is there. That what is happening in the US can affect the whole world. That when we are negotiating, we are mindful of the impact that negotiation will have on the entire globe. I look forward to negotiators who are having this perspective into their mind as they go at the negotiation tables, that we need to create a world that will accommodate all of us with our different ways of thinking, with our different capabilities and abilities, but knowing that we are all humans that must coexist. I know that they are there, and you and me can be some of those negotiators that will create a better world for all of us to live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winnie. And with these powerful words, I don't have anything left to say but to thank you so much for that really inspiring last hour, for your keynote and the questions you've answered. And I will turn over the microphone for a final closing note to Jack. But on my end, thank you so much, Winnie.
Welcome, Vera.
Thank you very much to Vera and to Winnie. I really feel like there's both so much I could say and nothing else which I could say. But thank you very much, Winnie, for taking the time to share your experiences with us, for certainly firing us up on a Friday night, to feel as I certainly feel as if I could, yeah, as if I'm ready to tackle some of the challenges and the world looks a little bit of a brighter place after hearing your vision. And it's certainly one which I hope we'll be able to stay in touch and to, yeah, to work together to bring this into reality.
Thank you, Jack, and I look forward to further collaboration to ensure that we create a place better for all of us.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who joined us in this Zoom call. Thank you for your questions and for your comments. And if you're joining us for the rest of the e-conference, then we'll begin tomorrow, not too bright and early, depending on the time zone.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Winnie, and good evening.